You cannot possibly keep up with publishing trends. My name is Gina. I'm an author, editor, publishing professional. I help you make your writing better. And when I say that you cannot keep up with those trends, I mean micro trends. By the time you know about a micro trend in publishing, it is already over. So this comment says, how can anybody keep up with these trends when it takes a year or more for a book to be written? And by the time you've written the book, the trend is over. And that is completely true. You cannot predict or keep up with these micro trends where we look around and we're like, oh, everybody really loves vampires right now. By the time you realize that, write the book, draft the book, get the agent, get the contract, it's too late. Vampires are over. The books that you see on shelves right now were acquired 2 years ago, 4 years ago. They were acquired a long time ago. So the trend is over by the time you know about it. But you can and should pay attention to larger trends overall within the publishing industry. So that is where we are talking about right now in the early part of the 21st century. We really like characters to be proactive. We really like crisp, concise prose. We really like for the world building to be immersive, but for the character to still be the one driving the story. There is a slight preference for third person and a pretty strong preference for past tense rather than present tense. These things are just overall general trends. Now, notice I didn't say that nobody writing first present is going to be like, that's fine. If you're writing something that is not like part of the big overall trend, everything's going to be okay. But these are just sort of like general things that are happening that 200 years from now, people analyzing literature that we are writing right now, these are the things that they're going to notice. And I want to be careful when we say the word trend here that we are talking about like things trending in a certain direction, not saying that these are trendy or hip, but when we talk about like diversifying the industry, that there should be more voices and more people from historically underrepresented or marginalized backgrounds. Those voices are being amplified now. We are pushing more of those to the forefront because they've been silenced for too long. Over the last 25 years, you saw a big shift in the way that we treated young adult literature. It went from being a thing that was churned out very quickly, very cheaply, and not treated very seriously, and now it is a serious major player in the industry. Some of these books are very heavy and very literary and very important, and they weren't treated that way 25 years ago, and certainly not 40 years ago or 50 years ago. This is a trend, a shift, a change in the way that the market functions. We also are more cost conscious now than we were 25 years ago, 50 years ago, and so this is where you're going to see the advice that most debut authors are expected to keep their first novel under 100,000 words in order to cut down on costs. That's a trend within the market. You need to understand sort of these big overall market trends in order to understand what the marketplace is doing and what your place within it is. There are always going to be exceptions to all of these things, and you might be one of those exceptions, but it is going to be harder to be an exception. Most people are not going to be exceptions. That's how that word works. So you are right. You cannot chase micro trends, fads, fashionable things. By the time you know about them as an end user, it's too late. The market has moved on behind the scenes and you're unaware of it at that point. But you can and should be paying attention to the big, overarching, large market trends that are happening within the entire industry.